Take a peek into my diary. August 4th, 2014, on vacation. August 14th, Institute ends and the first 8 weeks begins. August 16th, state of emergency declared in Ferguson. August 19th, ISIS members kill American journalist and TFA alum Jim Foley, my friend and fellow CMA at the New York City 2003 Institute. That same day, an unexpected email from Matt Kramer. September 1st, at my neighborhood block club meeting, a mother breaks down out of fear for her child's safety and considers homeschooling. The next day, school starts in Chicago. October 21st, it's reported that 43,000 unaccompanied minors who have crossed the border into the US have been placed with sponsors or held in detention centers waiting. President Obama calls it an urgent humanitarian situation. November 24th, Missouri grand jury makes a decision in Michael Brown shooting. Police officer found not guilty. November 26th, Lanisha and Tim announced the closing of the New York and Los Angeles Summer Training Institutes. December 1st, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder announces another plan to address racial profiling. December 4th, protests grow after the New York City grand jury decision in Eric Garner case. December 17th, Matt and Elisa update the organization on role eliminations given the overall core size reduction. A week later, it's reported that this year, 1.5 million people have fled the conflict zone in Nigeria, my parents' home country. January 11th, 2015. My 9-year-old nephew, Nicholas, says he's scared to have to watch another movie like Selma because it makes him feel less than. There's a war within, but I'm still dreaming. Are you? I ended my remarks at last year's TLD Summit posing that question to you. But these past few months, I realized I needed to flip the script back on myself because the constant barrage of events that were so personal left little room for healing. They, along with the real questions that we still face within, were challenging me as I tried to dream big. Just last August, it was summer in Chicago, but I was stuck in winter. I spent many sleepless nights in perpetual darkness, paralyzed by the happenings of the world, our country, and my own neighborhood. I was in a time of what you might call a self-imposed solitude. Spiraling out of control is a better phrase to describe it. Everywhere I turned, there were constant reminders that communities of color, our children of color, our Black boys and girls are invisible, not needed, and their lives not valued. One more held back, one more shot, one more incarcerated, one more under the poverty line, one more literally under the gun, one more homeless, one more seeking to be a part of this country in the hopes of a better life, one more misunderstood in their classroom, one more forgotten. How many more one-mores does it take for us to collectively shout, no more? Can somebody please tell me something new? Because right now, there's an eviction notice placed on my heart, threatening the hope and optimism that once filled it. On August 19th, while I was still on vacation, Matt happened to catch me in the midst of these reflections. Given everything happening in the world, something had told him he should reach out to simply ask how I was doing. I wrote back a day or two later with a scary and shaky truth. I said to him, I have a deep and dark secret that I can't say aloud, but I want to tell you what it is since you asked how I was doing. I know that the entire notion of our organization rests upon the belief and the promise for freedom for our kids, so I'm terrified to even think this. But here it is. I'm starting to question whether Black people, people of color, kids can ever be free in this country, and I have a lot of doubts. Soon after I returned from vacation, the Jackie Robinson West baseball team, based in my hometown of Chicago, won the U.S. Little League Championship. A team of middle school-aged Black boys, usually the underdogs, accustomed to making much from little, this team brought the heat and won in a season of winter for Black people in this nation. And this is what their community had to say about them. These beautiful Black boys. This news was coupled with the leadership of rising star 13-year-old Monet Davis, a record-breaking female pitcher who made the cover of Sports Illustrated. I want to make sure I'm not misunderstood. I'm not saying these victories were because I believe successful kids of color have to be good at sports. I'm saying this because what I saw was children demonstrating their determination, their resourcefulness, their discipline, their pride in their community and who they are, despite the odds stacked against them. The Jackie Robinson West baseball team was a booster shot, but it wasn't enough. Because the reality was, I was returning to work, but I wasn't fully ready to give. The weight of it all was too much. I was asking myself, why am I still here? How do I shake myself out of this season? Where's the honor for our ancestors who bled for our rights? Where's the dignity for our communities who strive for more for themselves and for their children? Where's the unity within this generation of leaders fighting for justice? Is it all for naught? November 24th, 2014. Sydney, my mentee, my friend, came to Thanksgiving at my house. I've known Sydney since she was 14, leaving 8th grade and beginning her journey into high school. When Sydney was a freshman, she was a very shy student, struggling academically and to assert her voice and leadership in what was a new world to her. We talk regularly, and I would use all the techniques we teach our core members. Build a relationship, ask questions versus statements, show love, care, and understanding. Help them see their greatness and the assets they bring to the table. Persist, and refuse to give up on them, even if it seems they've given up on themselves, because they are listening. But none of these strategies worked. Sydney did eventually share that she was spiraling because she couldn't make sense of the fact that she succeeded in her elementary school, but she didn't feel good enough or adequate amongst her peers in high school. But every time I thought there was a breakthrough, because she opened up about life, family, hopes, and dreams, she closed back up. And we fall backwards on all signs of progress. Fast forward 3 years later, this past holiday season, Sydney came to my house, surprisingly bubbly and joyful. As soon as she looked around and saw I didn't have a Christmas tree up, she was like, why don't you have a tree? I said, no, I don't feel like it. Then she said, no. You have to put up a Christmas tree in your apartment. Let's put it up together. This was not the young lady I thought I knew so well. Maybe this was what most teenagers go through in adolescence. Or maybe she was finding herself and coming into her own. All I knew is that she was different, vibrant, lively. So in my own darkness, I had to ask her, "What's wrong with you?" She turned around, faced me, looking with a very serious expression, eye to eye, something she has rarely done since I've known her, and said, "I had to bring the great Sydney back from grammar school and decide on who I want to be. I've embraced my season, and now I'm ready for anything." And so with that one line, Sydney lifted me out of my funk and gave me perspective. She opened my eyes and breathed new life into me. In our role as TLD coaches and supporters, we share with our core members and their students snapshots of hope and inspiration when they are hitting the wall or on the verge of giving up or losing sight of an aspiration that comes with hurdles at every turn. And yet, when we ourselves get in those moments, how often are we taking our own advice and living out the beliefs and words of perspective and hope? Are we listening to and heeding the words straight from the mouths of babes or ourselves? Sometimes in our darkness, we choose to focus on what doesn't exist instead of what does. The wows and wonders sitting right in front of us. Sydney taught me in that moment this November that we can't allow the dark and disastrous stories of the world to take the spotlight. When winter comes and darkness swirls, we have to elevate the wows and wonders, the stories that this world, and even we, often choose not to spotlight. This is where the enduring truth lies. That enduring truth is the story of Tyler, who was asked at the age of 12 to take the ACT. Or the story of Cameron, who has the gift of playing the violin and will one day lead an orchestra. Or many alums like Erica, who I went to college with and just won a spot on the Texas State Board of Education, District 13, and directs a leadership development program for teachers. Or Anna, a dreamer who will graduate with a degree in business administration from a university right here in Dallas and was spotlighted during President Obama's 2015 State of the Union address. Or Jessie, who is a debate champion at Thomas C. Marsh Preparatory Academy. And of course, let's not forget the thousands of kids who are not on TV, who are in classrooms right now, learning, growing, being stretched, and speaking out for what they want and deserve. You see, I was sleeping during the season of my winter, not recognizing that every moment of despair is an opportunity for mass construction over mass destruction, if I choose to see it that way. I've come to realize that the challenge doesn't exist in the seasons because the seasons are predictable. It exists in the transitions between seasons. I know many of you can relate, especially having experienced seasons and transitions in your own life, the life of your communities, and the life of this organization. And it's no secret in our own TLD community, the challenges we currently face are many. But as an old saying goes, trouble don't last always. We're gathered here in Dallas, powerful yet unfinished, marking the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the 50th anniversary of the Immigration and Nationality Act. 50 years ago, the people who struggled and died for this historic legislation didn't see where we are living now, but they declared our legacy, our will to be free. They were planting the seeds and watering. They only saw a few things bloom, but they kept watering. 50 years from now, if we continue to water through hardship, struggle, and pain, we will live in a world where Sydney, who will be in her 60s, will tell her story, our story, to her children and grandchildren, a historical legacy, one born of a movement of leaders, mature and young, who had strength, hope, and courage as we dreamed for justice, despite all the odds. That's why, despite the senseless tragedies of Renisha McBride, Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Carlisha Freeland-Gaither, Eric Garner, and many more, despite the fact that blacks and Latinos are 30% of the US population but make up 60% of the prison population, despite the fact that girls receive their harsher punishments than most students in our nation's schools, despite the soaring suicide rate of American Indian youth, a third of whom live in poverty, despite the fact that almost 40% of Southeast Asian children in the US do not finish high school, and more than 50% of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islander kids do not go to college, despite the thousands of unaccompanied kids that have crossed the US border seeking a better tomorrow, separated from their families, held in detention centers waiting for the fate of their future, despite all of this, I am owning my season. So long as I have another breath, I'm emerging from my winter and making a decision to bend but not break, to trust the heart even if I don't understand the hand, to see clarity even in the midst of chaos, to strive to be better over bitter, to turn suffering into strength and success, to choose purpose over pain, to thrive and not just survive. And while we may not always have control of the seasons and the changes between them, we do have control over how we respond to them. Our work in TLD, for sure, remains unfinished. But the power to choose is in this room. That's why I'm pushing through my winter, arm in arm with my family, community, my friends, my team, all of you here. I'm choosing to fight through the pain of transition, ready for the journey and season ahead for ourselves, our students, and our communities. If you're in the summer, are you reaching out your hand to help those who need to feel the sun on their face? If you are in winter, are you asking for a helping hand or a few to help you see through your transition? On this day, January 29th, 2015, what season are you in? And what are you going to do about it? Thank you.